got some things to talk about. Thing number one, I joke in the acknowledgments that, kind of sort of joke, that if fact checkers hadn't been as horrible as they are at their job, then the book that I just published would have been about this. This is 60 Minutes broadcast from not yesterday, not the previous, but the Sunday before, about California's high-speed rail train. And it's an absolute disaster. Originally approved by voters in 2008, it was supposed to be running from LA to San Francisco by now. Turns out that as of right now, it's going to run from Bakersfield to Merced, which you're never going to make back your money on people who want to go between Bakersfield and Merced. Even for the part that's from Bakersfield to Merced, it's not going to happen. So, pretty good CBS 60 Minutes report on this. I encourage you to watch it. You can go on their website. It's like 13 minutes and change this segment is. Some interesting things about it. This is an excerpt from the article that accompanies it, but I think it's basically just a transcript. What happened to California's plans? Rep. Vince Fong, a Republican representing California's Central Valley, sits on the House Transportation and Infrastructure Committee. He used to be a state representative, a state assemblyman or state senator or something like that, but he replaced Kevin McCarthy, who, interestingly enough, was one of those who, when Kevin McCarthy, former House GOP Speaker, when he was in the California State Assembly, he was one of the people on the original 2008 ballot measure that opposed it, that wrote the opposition to. So Fong's representing his district now. Says we're now in 2026. There are no trains. There's no track laid. It was a complete bait and switch. It became clear after voters approved the plan in 2008 the specifics hadn't been worked out, Fong said. California Secretary of Transportation Tokes Amishakin. I don't know if that's how you pronounce his name. That's another thing when you're doing an audiobook. It's like, I know all these words. I know these names. How to pronounce some of them? That's sometimes difficult. Even if you know how to pronounce it, saying them sometimes difficult. Anyways, who's relatively new to the job, agrees with that point. He's been left to answer for his predecessors. Says, I don't think the voters fully understood, and here's the point, and neither did we in the public sector, that it was what it was going to take to actually get this project delivered. It's not the members of the public's responsibility to understand. It's your responsibility as the ones pushing it to explain it. And frankly, you go back and look, and I'll get to that in a second. This is what the High-Speed Rail Authority is doing nowadays. It posts stuff like this. So this was from the April 9th, which would have been Thursday or Friday. They've appointed Antonio Bolina, so Chief of Infrastructure Maintenance. What is there to maintain at this point? There is no trains, no tracks. They've built these, what we've been calling these Stonehenge things in the Central Valley, bridges and aqueducts, or not aqueducts, but bridges and overpasses and underpasses that this train is eventually supposed to run on. Right now, there's nothing to maintain. Why even bother filling this position? I'll kind of give you the answer to that one. The answer is in this next post from April 4th, 5 days earlier. This is something that they regularly post on X. This is something they regularly post on Facebook. 16,000 jobs created. 1,600 daily work. It's a jobs. This is all for the purpose of this is construction jobs. And high pay. They aren't paying these guys cheap. These are high-paying construction jobs. Great if you can get it. I understand. Great if you. But as a taxpayer, who cares? Yeah, again, this is what it is. This was a handout to construction unions. And that's why it continues. Is because all of a sudden, if we don't have 1,600 daily workers dispatched doing this, maybe they could be working on some of the roads or something. It's just absolutely, but that's what they do. So I went back and looked at the California general election for this Prop 1A, Safe, Reliable, High-Speed Passenger Train Bond Act. It's going to do this without raising taxes. That's the argument in favor. It's interesting to take a look back at this. It really is. Because who was right and who was wrong? We're nearly 18 years after this was passed, because it was passed in November 4th, 2008 by, 53 to 47%. It's actually 52 point something, but 53 to 47% got this passed. Who has been more right? 10 years of study and planning have gone into preparing for construction, financing, and operation of a California bullet train network modeled on popular, reliable, and successful systems in Europe and Asia. Their record shows the high-speed trains deliver both in service and economy. Apparently 10 years study wasn't enough, because originally this thing was going to cost $30 million to go from LA to San Francisco. And now we're getting $36 million to go from Bakersfield to Merced. The number of people that want to go to Bakersfield or Merced is, and then, you got to Uber on either end. Even if you wanted to stay in those communities. I don't think either of those communities have the little electric bikes or electric scooters that you can get around with. But they spent 10 years. So from 1998, they were studying, planning, and preparing for this, and they screwed it up. This was just, they're just thinking, oh, yay, rainbows and stuff. And then I saw this. The signers of the ballot arguments against Proposition 1A are habitual opponents of transportation improvements. Their claims are wrong, and their data is simply made up. Who's closer? The antis. The antis were so much closer to being right than the pros on this one. Here's the rebuttal argument. Same politicians who can't solve our budget crisis and want to raise your taxes think they can run their own government railroad. Even they admit this high-cost train hits taxpayers for $40 billion. It's 40. Even so, that's just a partial payment by taxpayers. No guarantee it will be completed. Nailed it. Project wasted $58 million on consultants, European travel, and fancy brochures, and now billions more may be spent without laying an inch of track. Money we'd have to repay even if the project failed. The special interest backing Prop 1A are notorious for their multi-billion-dollar cost overruns. Oh my gosh, one side nailed this and the other side didn't. Buy my current book, because I want this to be my next book. I really do. But it's going to take a lot more work, a lot more research, a lot more interview. I'm going to have to interview people. Hopefully they'll talk to me. I was just looking at some of the people who, were on each side of these arguments and whatnot. And this is something that you don't get much of, but I am very curious what each side would say about this today. I got an idea of what the anti-side would say. We were right, and looks like you were. The pro side, I'm curious. Oh, did we make a mistake? Oh no, was it something we couldn't have foreseen? Or a couple of the names on this. Let me see if I can find it. But the names on the pro side of this. I'm not sure whether it was on the rebuttal or the argument in favor. Look at them. 2/3 of them were union reps. This is a jobs program. This is not about high-speed rail. This is a jobs program. Thanks for watching this clip from the Hoistery On Air broadcast. I encourage you to follow me on Substack, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. I want to thank you for your support, and please feel free to watch another video or 2 or 3.